Good day there, once again viewers, this is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Titanfall 2 content. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be continuing our series of guides and reviews for the Titan classes available in the multiplayer by taking a look at the Pyromaniac of the Titan family, Scorch. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the weapons, abilities, and utilities available to Scorch, as well as the available modifications to see which could give you the strong edge in the battlefield, and which are going to douse your combat effectiveness. We will also be discussing some Titan-specific strategy for Scorch, because believe it or not, there is a little bit more to this Titan over the simplistic yet admittingly fun mentality of burn everything. So on that note, let's get this video started and get talking about Scorch. Scorch's primary weapon is the T-203 Thermite Launcher, a single-shot grenade launcher that delivers a deadly dose of thermite over an area near the impact. And much to the contrary of Ion, the Titan we reviewed in the last video of this series, Scorch's primary weapon is all about damage per round over rate of fire, as Scorch is the only Titan in the game that needs to reload his primary weapon after every shot. The T-203 Thermite Launcher is also unique in the sense that while its projectiles deal initial impact damage, the majority of the damage comes from a payload of thermite that burns targets over time, adding a sense of sustained damage to this primary weapon. An interesting element of this weapon is that the thermite doesn't just stick to the surface in which the round impacts initially. The thermite also adheres to gravity, which allows for some interesting tactics surrounding walls and hitting enemy targets that are in cover with the thermite, but more on that in a few seconds. When it comes to abilities, the agenda of setting the world on fire reigns true throughout Scorch's loadout. For the offensive ability, Scorch comes with the Firewall, which is a directed wall of thermite that causes continuous damage to Titans caught in the wall of fire, and completely incinerates all grunts, spectres, and pilots who happen to be unlucky enough to walk into the light per se. As for the defensive ability, we have access to the Heat Shield, which acts sort of similarly to the Vortex Shield that Ion has access to, but instead of catching rounds and sending them back at enemies, it completely incinerates any incoming shells, all the while dealing damage to anything it comes into contact with. So if you have a pilot charging at you, then popping this shield at just the right time will turn him into the next buffet dinner for cannibals worldwide. This shield also serves as a fantastic offensive tool for when you get close with Titans. Why is that the case? Well, we will clarify that soon also. Scorch's tactical ability is the Incendiary Trap, which deploys a canister that emits an aura of flammable gas. Once this gas is ignited by anything as small as a spark, it will coat the area in fire, which will cause major damage to anything caught out by this fiery trap. And last but not least, we have the Flame Core, which when activated will create a directional wave of fire that causes downright devastation to anything caught out by its path, and will continue to travel for a long period of time when uninterrupted. The only thing that can stop this flame core from moving is environmental obstacles such as buildings and mountains. This is a core to use when you feel like embracing the devil's gift by turning everything you simply don't like into a pile of ash. So that is Scorch's loadout, and if we were to summarize this Pyromaniac's gear up in a couple of words to describe what it is good at, those words would be crowd/lane control. The majority of Scorch's abilities, minus the Heat Shield, are all designed with area of effect in mind over precision, and because of that, Scorch is the master of crowd and lane control in Titanfall 2. When you are playing as this Titan, your mindset shouldn't be focused on wondering how much damage you can deal to a certain target. It should be focused instead on how much damage you can deal over time to multiple targets all at once. And of all the abilities available to Scorch, the most powerful and adaptable one to my mind is the Incendiary Trap, only because it comes with a plethora of both offensive and defensive uses on the battlefield that can really turn the tide of battle. The most obvious use for the Incendiary Trap is to take it quite literally and use its area of effect as a way to trap enemy Titans from either retreating or moving forward, or both, considering that you can use the ability twice in quick succession if you leave it charging long enough. For example, you can use the trap to block off a Ronin from advancing on you if he doesn't have a phase shift available, saving you from a potential sword core by keeping him at distance. The Incendiary Trap is also a must-use ability for when you come across multiple Titans that are in close proximity of each other, as you would be, admittingly, hard-pressed to hit them both with one single shot of the Thermite Launcher, where an ignited Incendiary Trap trap will easily deal significant damage to them both at the exact same time. But if you're in a 1v1 situation, a well-placed incendiary trap can also act as a great amplifier to your primary weapon's damage. Basically, the thing you should be gathering from all of this is that the incendiary traps are great for both tools for lane control, but are also great for gaining an upper hand in straight up Titan vs Titan combat. Now keep in mind that there was no mention of using the incendiary trap against AI or pilots, and the exact same mentality goes for the primary weapon. The primary weapon here only fires once before needing to reload, so if you commit an entire round to a single pilot, then you run the risk of being caught out with the reload as an enemy Titan decides to come around and pay you a visit. The only time you should ever consider using the primary weapon against AI or pilots is when there is a clump of pilots in close proximity of each other giving you a hard time, or if there are no enemy Titans on the field, then making short work of the enemy AI with the primary weapon is acceptable. The only exception to this rule I find is Reapers, because fuck them in particular. Something I would also recommend learning with the T-203 thermite launcher is how to bounce the thermite payload off of walls onto enemy targets. You got to keep in mind with the thermite launcher is that it's not the initial impact of the round that deals the damage, it's the thermite payload that burns over time that deals the real damage to your enemy targets. So therefore, learning how to bounce the thermite off of walls down onto targets below is great for when you've got pilots or Titans that think they're in cover, especially when you're up against a Tone who has his shield up. If he's up against a wall, bounce that thermite down onto him and he's not going to know what hit him. Use it in combination with a incendiary trap and he's going to really have a bad time because those incendiary traps also bounce off walls. So how do we deal with enemy pilots, I hear you all asking? Well now, ladies and gentlemen, that is where the flame shield comes into play. If you have a pilot grappled to you or making leaps and bounds towards you to get that really sick rodeo clip for their YouTube channel, then all you have to do is pop the flame shield at the right time and it will be like this pilot made a trip just a little bit too close to the sun. The shield can also be used in a very basic defensive manner by blocking incoming rounds and saving yourself a little bit of damage when you are feeling outgunned. However, much like the Vortex shield available to Ion, this is a defensive ability that can not only be used offensively, but it is encouraged. If you ever find yourself in a knife fight against an enemy Titan, using the Fire Shield will allow for you to not only block incoming damage from this enemy Titan, but also deal significant damage to said Titan. But more importantly, using the Fire Shield when you are caught in a CQC brawl is a must, as all of Scorch's other weapons deal AoE damage that can affect you if you get a bit too close and personal. So to avoid running the risk of getting yourself caught in your own fire damage, stick to the Fire Shield in CQC brawls, because it's your safest option. If you want to keep the upper hand in battles, you're gonna have to avoid hurting yourself. Let's be honest here. Which leaves us with the final ability, the Firewall. The Firewall is great if you come across one or more enemy Titans that are stuck in a confined linear choke point. By using it in areas with limited movement available, enemy Titans are going to have very little options when it comes to escaping the damage dealt by this stream of fire. It also acts as a great backup if you are mid-reload and desperately need to activate an incendiary trap, and can even be used from an entirely utility-based mindset, as a roadblock per se. Want a Titan to not go a particular way? Use this metaphorical middle finger to their freedom of movement. A fairly simple ability that can be very powerful when used correctly. The Flame Core is similar in the sense that it also projects damage downrange in a linear path, only the Flame Core has a much wider area of effect and deals a single burst of damage with anything it makes initial contact with. It doesn't rely on the enemy Titan's inability to escape the burn area. So all things considered, Scorch is a very capable Titan in the hands of a pilot that knows how to use his abilities to lock down choke points and limit the enemy's options for escape. But nothing is ever perfect, which gives us some room to improve Scorch through the common pool and Titan specific kit options. When it comes to the common pool Titan kit option, the Turbo Engine kit is something that I've found a lot of success with on Scorch, considering Scorch's very limited maneuverability to get started off with can be an anchor in some scenarios, and having just one dash to escape a rocky situation is very powerful to have. It's also great for quickly getting out of dodge when you accidentally end up in your own fire field somehow. When it comes to Scorch's Titan specific kits, he has access to the Wildfire Launcher, Tempered Plating, Inferno Shield, Fuel for Fire, and the just recently added kit in Angel City's Most Wanted DLC, Scorched Earth. Now, of all the options here, it's really all about what kind of playstyle you incorporate with Scorch, as there really isn't a clear winner here. All of them offer a handy bonus to a certain aspect of Scorch's loadout. It all depends on which area of Scorch you think needs the most amount of work to complement your playstyle. For example, if you want to get down and dirty with Scorch, then taking Inferno Shield for increased damage output and duration of the Fire Shield, or Tempered Plating for more protection against your own fire weapons, will serve you really well in close quarters combat. Or let's just say you want to get more bang for your buck out of the Firewall or the Thermite Launcher, then taking Fuel for Fire or Wildfire Launcher respectively will grant you all of your wishes. Something I've been having a ton of fun with, however, since the new patch is the Scorched Earth kit, because nothing, I repeat, nothing is quite as fun as setting the world on fire with the single click of a button. All in all, folks, Scorch is a Ginger's Spirit Titan. A Titan that doesn't shy away when he is faced with multiple threats at once, and is the master of locking down choke points with his arsenal of pyrotechnics. Whether you're a madman who likes fire or someone who likes taking on multiple threats at once, this is the Titan for you. And with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap up today's review/guide for the Scorch class of Titan in Titanfall 2's multiplayer. If you guys enjoyed today's video, whether you found it informative or enjoyable or whatever the case may be, guys, a backhanding of that like button would be greatly appreciated. If you yourself have any sorts of tips or tricks for Scorch, then feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below. If I didn't address them in this video, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Feel free to contribute to the overall conversation. If I see any outstanding tips or tricks, I'll be sure to annotate them in the video itself. If you find yourself backhanding that like button and you're new to the channel, feel free to backhand that subscribe button whilst you're at it, and if you're backhanding that dislike button, let me know how I can also improve my quality of my content in the comment section down below. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Have a good one.